It wasn't all smiles at Old Trafford. Just before the game, these scenes outside the stadium. The trouble was triggered by a group of about 30 United fans who attempted to charge through the police segregation line. This is a high-risk Category C game for the police, which puts it on par with the game against Liverpool. The police said the incidents were small and isolated, and 16 people had been charged. No serious injuries were reported. As a result of those scenes, some newspapers in the UK are declaring it a night of shame for English football, describing it as a throwback to the bad old days of the 80s and that teams should be punished. Our senior producer Glenn Conley has looked at the video from Rome last week and Manchester last night, and he says that's rubbish. To compare either of these situations to that of Heysel at the 1985 European Cup final is wrong.
Take a look at these pictures behind me. On the left is the trouble at Rome's Olympic Stadium last week. On the right are the scenes outside Old Trafford. Now, fans who choose to behave like this are a disgrace to their countries, their clubs and themselves. But the other issue here is the police. Now, put simply, bashing defenceless supporters with batons is medieval and will ultimately only add to the problem. What we saw overnight in Manchester was the opposite. The police were sensible. They were there in sufficient numbers. They divided the troublemakers and no one was battered. Now, to compare either of these situations with that of Heysel at the 1985 European Cup final is wrong and an insult to the 39 Juventus fans who lost their lives. Now, in Rome, supporters were separated but allowed to pelt each other with bottles and charge at the dividing plastic fence. So rather than ensure those fans were in no position to charge at each other or rejecting those who threw the missiles, police only made the problem worse. They should be condemned and Roma should be forced to play in an empty stadium or a neutral venue for at least a year. In Manchester, the trouble was caused by a small group of thugs wearing black who, from all reports, didn't even have a ticket. They were rounded up, arrested and will be charged. The police there should be commended. Manchester United cannot be punished for the behaviour of these louts. They will be dealt with by the courts. Inside the ground, there was no trouble at all. None. These situations were not the same and should not be treated that way.